Topic Thursday with Luke and Diz.
Hello.
I'm your host, Luke Croft. Alongside me, the co-host of this show.
Yes. Kathy Lee Gifford.
Where?
You're the Regis to my Kathy Lee. Well, I'm Diz.
Dizzy.
I'm usually behind the scenes.
I know. Everyone was excited to see you. We got people who were pumped about it. And then you fall over.
Worth it.
Just me
Commitment.
talking.
Commitment.
You got to commit to the joke. But anyway, we get together every Thursday because, first of all, you don't get to see this lovely face all that often, and we want you to be able to. And also, Diz and I do a lot of talking about video games outside of the podcast, and we want to join in with you guys. So we're streaming here on twitch.tv/Player3Podcast, but we also post this on youtube.com/Player3Podcast. We want to interact with the people that are watching. Mm-hmm. If you guys got thoughts, if you guys want to kind of have our topics meander in any sorts of ways, we will be willing to do that. I've got a giant cup of water here, 3 topics, and a good friend to talk about video games with.
Perfect.
Nice.
You sure that's water?
Could be. May not be. Don't know.
I don't know if it's true, but I saw a picture that they have like vodka in like high C box packaging with this built-in straw.
Oh.
I don't know if it's true. The internet told me it was.
Does it have the high C branding on it so that people think that you're just drinking high C?
It doesn't.
And you're like,
they missed that boat.
You're like, it's 9 a.m. I'm already in a semi-comatose state.
Dude, that fruit punch hits hard.
That's why you got to refrigerate it after you open it.
Whoa, black screen just popped up.
Oh, gosh. All right.
I'm ready to go, man.
Here we go. Well, let's just jump it right in. Very first topic. Here we go. The big announcement was last week.
Mm-hmm.
The gameplay reveal for Star Wars Battlefront. Brought many, many cheers. Brought almost an equal number of jeers.
Yeah, it did, didn't it?
Yeah, kind of a mixed bag of feelings towards it. But I don't want to talk about Star Wars Battlefront. We did that for about 45 minutes.
We did.
At our podcast on Monday. I want to talk about this. What movie, TV series, book, or historical time period would you like to see brought into the video game space, and how would you like to see it brought into it, whether it's by a certain developer, a certain genre of game? How would you like to see it?
Well, you said the word "or," and I will give you one of each if you can give me your answers.
Okay.
I want to ask you the same question, but I want to start with movie. Now, I am going to say that I would love to see an Evil Dead or Army of Darkness game. Now, these have already existed back in the day with PlayStation 2 for, it was Hail to the King and Army of Darkness, but it was way before its time. Way before its time. We are now in an age where, like, these cult classics are rampant. Like, you know, people are finding these campy, corny movies, these horror movies that are kind of terrible, and just latching onto them. And I think now is the time to make an Army of Darkness or Evil Dead game, because it just has that appeal. It has that fun. It has that humor to it. And I would picture it to be just like it was in the PlayStation times, a third-person kind of game. I would feel like it would be... You know, one of those games like Borderlands where it's fun, it's action, but there's still a lot of laughs and a lot of interesting moments in it. So that's what I would love to see. Them to try that again, because that's something that's close to my heart. Ash is close to my heart.
So, you said Evil Dead, right?
Or Army of Darkness. It's all within the same trilogy.
So now, if they were to make this movie, this game, would you want it to be more based off of the Evil Dead remake, or the practical effects kind of cheesy horror of the original Evil Dead?
Well, it depends. To me, when I think of the original trilogy, it's humor. It's funny. Like, it was terrifying, yes. But Bruce Campbell just brought this... Oh, gosh, I hate using this word, but I'm going to, and you can kill me later. But he just brought this swag to it, you know.
Okay.
He had his own style that
I thought
made
you
his
were going.
character
I thought you were
alive.
going moist. I thought
Moist?
you were going to say he
No.
just brought this moist presence.
That's a disgusting word. How do you use that positively?
What?
Oh,
moist?
this cake is moist.
Yeah. That's like the number one word people use to describe cake. It's a compliment.
Moist. Okay.
Like there was a whole Chips Ahoy line of cookies called Moist, I believe, or was it? No, it was
Chewy?
It was Chewy. Dang, I thought it was Moist. Anyway, never mind.
What movie are you thinking?
All right, here we go. I'm gonna pull out super obscure here.
Here we go. Deep cut.
Norm Macdonald's Dirty Work. All right.
I attempted it. I tried to watch it.
I love that movie, man. When they're trying to get back at that car dealership, so they hire a bunch of hookers to get in the trunks of the car because they're like airing this live television commercial, so they're on the news, and Norm Macdonald has the remote to open up the trunks, and so he opens up a trunk, and he's like, "What are you doing with all these dead hookers in your
Gosh. I could just see Norm saying that. Oh my gosh.
And so here's my idea for a dirty work game. It is a top-down puzzle game made by Devolver, the makers of Hotline Miami. I feel like it would really fit that art style.
Okay.
You know, where it's top-down and people are hiring you to prank people. So it's level-based. Mm-hmm. And you have to put together the highest scoring pranks in order to get the biggest payout.
Now, wouldn't the build of the level already give you all the equipment you need to get the highest score? Or is it just a bunch of random stuff that you're able to utilize yourself?
It is procedurally generated. So every time you go into it, it's the same scenario, same setting, but there's different items, different things that you can use. And so tons of replay value within it because it's procedurally generated.
So, you know, so then you got these items with a point value that's understood or like a surprise. Like, oh, this dumpster of dead hookers evidently is like 10,000 points if you use it.
Just a dumpster.
Well, you put them in the cars, right? Well, they were alive, weren't they?
Yeah, they were alive.
Oh, well, then never mind.
You didn't actually kill them.
What if you had an amount of money and you could only buy as many hookers as you needed? Or that you could afford? All right, back on topic.
Back on track.
I'm getting myself back on track.
All right, yeah.
I've said that word too many times today. Twice in this.
I've said it too many times today.
Golly, it's 5 o'clock and I've said it so many times.
I just love that movie, and I think there's too few prank games in video games. I can't think of a single one. So, prank games is there?
Bully had some pranking in it.
Okay, so it's been done to a degree, but this is fully prank centric. All right, this is I think it would be good. All right, so there's a movie. What about a television show? What television show would you like to see come? Well, I know this one's the harder one for you because you don't latch on to too many. But
I got it. I want a legitimate game exactly like it was in the digital estate planning episode of Community. Did you see that one where they go into a video game? It is 16-bit, and they're playing through like stomping on hippies, you know, fighting jive turkeys. It is amazing.
This is really meta. You want a game that's based on a game that was in a TV show.
Exactly. That's it. And that's what Community is about, being meta. If you haven't seen the episode, I need to show it to you. It is so amazing because it's like, it was really versatile. It was in depth. It was engrossing. And they put so much great work into it. I want to see that to be reality. Really, if you haven't seen it, I got to show it to you. It's the second best episode after the D&D episode.
What season is it in?
I am not 100% sure, but it is one of the later seasons.
Okay, so yeah. I think I have a piece of ice in my mouth. It was a mistake. I apologize. Yeah, I think I'm only like halfway through season 2.
Okay.
I was stealing Larry's Hulu account, and then we stopped because I don't know if he has Hulu anymore.
I got the DVDs for you, brother.
Word. Yeah. Yeah, I do like that show. I did enjoy it. I didn't stop because I didn't enjoy it. So, okay. Here's my idea. A Doctor Who game.
I was going to say Always Sunny. There's a prank game for you.
Oh, gosh.
But continue, Doctor Who.
That would be awesome. And it's you rack up narcissism points.
Perfect.
And you recharge your health by eating milk steak and jelly beans. And you get paid in kitten mittens.
Kitten mittens. Oh my gosh! Like, do you get to play as every character?
Yeah, yeah. And the whole game is about finding out the waitress's real name.
Perfect.
Only to find out at the end that it's just waitress.
And
spoiler alert.
They have health bars and they get injured, and after they're injured, you can't play as them anymore because Dennis is addicted to crack now, and Dee is wearing a helmet because she is really challenged. It just works out beautifully, man.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, so anyway, I want a Doctor Who game, a game that. Thanks for the follow, Smelly Sausage 69.
Yes,
we are currently talking
out.
about what movie, TV series, book, and historical event we would like to see come to be made into a video game. So yes, Doctor Who. It's an open world game developed by Bethesda. It's got a couple things in it. First of all, at the very beginning of the game, you select your companion, and yes,
not to interrupt, but you said Bethesda, so. Would you want it to be third or first person? Because I know you're digging the third.
Third.
Okay.
Third person.
Continue then.
Third person. Okay, so at the beginning of the game, you pick your companion, personality, looks, all that sort of stuff, and you obviously create your own doctor. And
that's brilliant.
And so it kind of plays into the lore of create your own thing with the idea of regeneration and that sort of stuff, where you are just coming back to life after something catastrophic just happened to you. So you make your companion, you set his or her personality, and their personality kind of dictates the places that you will go.
Okay.
And so adding replay value, because you can go back at the beginning of the game and create an entire new companion, or you can do like it does in Doctor Who and switch companions in the middle of the game. Here's the thing that I would love to see in it. Permadeath. To an extent.
Okay.
To an extent. So the whole premise of one of the big plot points in Doctor Who is that when you die, you as a collection of personality, as a collection of memories, continues to exist, but you take on an entirely new personality, entire new skill sets, entire new approaches to problems, and all of that sort of stuff. So when you die, you keep your progress, but you cannot come back as the same kind of character.
So what would keep a player to want to keep their present character if they have the option of restarting from scratch and not losing any progress?
Oh man, see, now you're asking all the hard questions.
But let me ask you an easier question. We'll forget that one. Here's the easier question. Would it be like a co-op where one person's the doctor and the other person's the companion?
You could play it like co-op, but I would imagine it more being a single player game. Okay. Especially being made by Bethesda.
Truth.
You know, they specialize in the single player experience. But yeah, so when you die, you regenerate. So what would keep you coming back? Why would
wanting that one character?
I have no idea. That's a great question. I didn't think about it this thoroughly.
What if the longer you are alive, the more you do things, you gain, like in Dying Light, you get these survivor points. The more points you get, you can unlock new weapons or things, but every time you die, you lose points.
Oh, yeah. Or the collection of memories that you have amounts to more and more knowledge about how the universe and time and space and all of that stuff works. And so you continue to have planets unlocked with your life. You just have to change your personality. I like that.
Interesting.
All right, so
that has the most promise of everything we said thus far. That sounds brilliant.
So we've got a movie, and we've got a TV series. All right, what about a book?
A book. Well, this was, for most people, when I say this, they're going to think movie, but it was a book first. All right. And I would like to see a third-person permadeath survival thing, kind of like H1Z1, like that style, but with Battle Royale, which is that story about the kids in Japan having to go through having to go to an area and kill each other because there's too many people. It's overpopulated, so they send all these kids to an area, and they have to kill each other to bring the population down. So what it would be is like you're assuming this character, and you're put into a game with all these other real players, and you spend your life like in H1Z1 trying to survive, trying to be the last one standing. And when you're destroyed, it's permadeath. So the people that are still in the arena or the area can continue on, and you're just assuming a different character in a completely different game. So I mean, it's really H1Z1 100%, but through the guise of Battle Royale.
Royal Rumble.
Battle Royale, yes.
So rather than a map, it's a wrestling ring.
Yes, and Stone Cold can't die. He's always the last one.
Yes, yeah, obviously. Is he still wrestling? You're from West Virginia. You should know.
He tried acting.
Really?
And then he had a show on CMT. Man, I am from West Virginia because I've never seen any of those.
You know way too much. Okay, so a book. All right, this is gonna be odd. See, I don't read a ton of fiction. I read a lot of nonfiction, and so regardless of what your views are on this book, I think it could be an interesting thing to make a game based on. But based on the Old Testament battles and stories, I mean, think about the story of Ehud. When he stabs Eglon in the stomach and poop goes everywhere.
As long as I can be Shamgar, I'm sold.
See, all of those awesome stories, you know, leading militaries, conquesting cities, that sort of stuff. I just think it would be an interesting, both book driven and historically driven game. So.
Is there a level where you're assuming the identity of David and you're trying to get Bathsheba's husband killed?
Yes, you have to come up with
the most creative way to kill Uriah. Is his name?
And then it turns into a top-down game made by Devolver based on the movie Dirty Work with Norm Macdonald.
oh, beautiful.
Okay,
full circle.
All right, so we've done movie, TV series, book, historical era. Here's the thing: we have billions of years of history. But yet we only seem to tackle the same little chunks of it in video games. What is an untouched segment of history that you would like to see?
Untouched, okay.
It doesn't necessarily have to be untouched or touched in a creative way.
Okay. I am a huge fan of the history in 1800s, late 1800s, Russia. Like the Imperial Russia with the Tsars, like Tsar Nicholas, and all those stories with the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917 and the whole, creepy mysticism that was going on. I love that. So I would like to see something of that nature. You're assuming a military person in this time frame. The format that would make the most sense would obviously be Assassin's Creed, because that seems to be the most versatile system for, different wars and different battles and different areas of the world. So that'd be very interesting to me. Like you can play around with it, even though there was a lot of different proponents in it, like the aftermath of the Black Hand and all this stuff, and all these people going in for the revolution with communism. I think that could be interesting, fun. You can play with it as well as be educational at the same time, because we were talking not too long ago about how I always get the name wrong. That survival game, This Is Our War.
This war of mine.
This war of mine.
This is our war?
Being about was that about the
Bosnia.
Bosnia?
Yeah.
Like, that's something we in America really don't know much about. That or the Bolshevik Revolution, or all the genocide and all in somewhere over there. See, I don't know, but I
have so much to learn right now.
See, so it's an interesting part of history that could be intriguing, educational, and would totally work in an Assassin's Creed game.
I was on Reddit this week. Me and you talked about this earlier in the week. I was on Reddit this week. There was a picture of a man in Iran in the late 60s, early 70s. And, you'd have thought it was taken down the street from the house, the picture. And kind of went into this whole history about post-World War II, the post-World War II Middle East, post-World War II Britain, and about how, the British oil company joined in an alliance with Iran, kind of dictated, and they had majority rule over the oil. Some stuff went down. Iran established a democracy, nationalized their own stuff. Britain didn't like it. Went back into a relationship with them after putting in a dictatorship there with the help of the United States. I think that would be an interesting thing to tell in a game. That whole, like, we like to deal so much in the combat side of warfare and historical events and those sorts of things. But there are very few games that kind of tackle the political side of those things. So maybe it would be a great period of time for Telltale to kind of step in and create character-driven conversation stuff to kind of tell us the actual history of how some of that stuff went down, about how a lot of the problems in the Middle East started with, British and American intervention in those things.
Would you assume the role of, like, an Iranian civilian that is discovering these truths, or would it be like you're the British dude trying to push it forward?
Well, the great thing about some Telltale games, is you see the story from multiple perspectives. And so, like the Game of Thrones one is told from the perspective of several different characters, and I think that would be an interesting way to go about it. I like the idea of it being a citizen who kind of uncovers the truth of what's going on. That would be really cool. Let's see, what do we have here? Smelly Sausage says the caveman era would be interesting.
Yes, that would be pretty interesting. I could see that working.
And that survival would fit that time the best. And there's a game that's coming out on PS4. What is it called? It's not Wild. Is it Wild? Hold on, I'm going to look this up. Talk to me about the caveman.
That interests me because I don't know if you know this about me. You probably do. We've known each other for a long time. But I'm a huge fan of Jurassic Park. And if there's a game that involves dinosaurs, I'm going to be interested. Like the old Turok games and stuff like that. Like, I loved playing the PlayStation Lost World game. Beautiful. So this seems to be another outlet for me to craft things that are major, such as the wheel, and harnessing very important things like fire, and then be able to fight things. I love that idea.
Okay, so here is Wild. Wild is going to be an online survival game that takes place 10,000 years ago in history. It's going to be made by the people who made the Rayman series, actually. Okay. Let's see. I'm just gonna scroll through here. I mean, the screenshots of this look awesome. I need to have that set up where we can put up what I'm looking at.
There's a giant lady in a tree. I guess it's Gaia.
A hollowed out tree here. Every time you play, you'll discover new things, even in the same places as before. But the best feature came from our prototyping phase when we started playing as wolves, horses, and sheep, and even trout. So you're not limited to just playing as humans or whatever humanoid people are living in this era.
Trout?
So you can play as different animals. So we decided that in Wild, every creature should be playable, even the giant and dangerous ones. That's really cool. Or the trout.
The trout.
So if you're looking for a kind of caveman survival primitive thing, Wild looks like it would be interesting.
That does look interesting, but I have a 1, so
it's okay, buddy. We can't all be winners. Let's go get some ice cream
with sprinkles.
No. Sprinkles are for winners. All right.
Geico.
One topic.
No, it's progressive, right? It's like Geico. It's progressive, right?
Progressive.
Oops. There goes our funding.
So there's our first question, and boom, knocked it out. All right, second topic. Let's talk a little bit about handheld gaming. This comes on the heels of a story with the PlayStation Vita filed for trademarks for some stuff that a lot of people thought hinted at a Vita 3000. Ends up ultimately that it wasn't, but the rumors swirled. The internet got hyped for at least a little while. The 15 of us that own PlayStation Vitas, and then it all died down when it turns out that they were probably just trademarking the X, circle, square, and triangle buttons. So,
wait, Sony didn't do that?
In the placement. Well, you have to continually renew trademarks.
Oh, okay.
They can run out. But anyway, so there was some hype about the Vita 3000. I don't want to talk about the Vita 3000. I want to talk about handheld gaming for a minute. All right. talk about your history in handheld gaming and kind of where you stand now.
Handheld gaming for me was definitely when I was a lot younger. With the Game Gear, the Game Boy Advanced, the Color, I had 2 DSs, and I had 1 PSP. But after that, it just stopped. I don't know. It's with me and the way that I play games. It's not very intense. I'm a very recreational gamer. I can go a few days without playing, or there's one day where I just play all day. So the reason why I'm not really into the handheld area is I don't always need to have a game at my hands at all times. I don't need to have it on a trip. I don't need to have it when I'm visiting someone in Indiana. I just don't see the need for it. I'm not saying that they're not good. They have great things. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, that's where you're going to find the Pokemon games. That's where you're going to find, like, a lot of the good Zelda games. Perfectly fine with me. Just not my particular scene. But I know that you're really loving your Vita.
Yeah, I think, let's see. I own the original Game Boy. I had a Game Boy Color. That's all I had as far as Game Boys go. I had a PSP. And I am now on my 3rd PlayStation Vita.
3rd, okay, cool.
And it took me a while to kind of grasp like why I love the Vita. I think part of the reason is I'm married now, mm-hmm. and so my wife sometimes likes watching TV, and sometimes it's TV I'm not particularly interested in, and so all the consoles are out on the main TV. If she's using the main TV, I'll just pull the Vita out and mm-hmm. start playing something. Lately it's been Shovel Knight. I burned through half a Shovel Knight yesterday just because
one day.
Well, she was burning through Once Upon a Time, so I burned through Shovel Knight. And so the accessibility of it and the convenience of just being able to pick it up, I mean, it's constantly in standby. I can just go into whatever game I was playing, pick it up right where I left off. I also love it for the traveling purposes. I went to Puerto Rico this summer, and between the plane ride there, we stayed a week, and we worked during the day and then came back to the hotel at night. So between the flight there, the hotel at night each night, and then the flight back, I played 2.5 seasons of FIFA 13.
How many games is that?
I have no idea. Way too many. It was a lot. And so I really enjoy it just being there. I also, with the Vita, I like remote play. I think there are games that there are games I would not play on PS4 that I will play on the Vita because it's just more conducive.
And then you got the flip side because Borderlands 2 is pretty rough.
Right. There are things that don't belong necessarily on handhelds, or I don't want to say they don't belong there, but it's not the optimal space for them. Because like you said, Borderlands 2, very chuggy on the Vita. I think it's just too big a game trying to do too much on what that hardware can handle. But like I wouldn't play Shovel Knight on my PS4. Like I don't want to use my $400 console to play games that were, that are that style. It just doesn't feel right to me, So Vita is the space where I like to play those games. Like that, like Hotline Miami. I play a lot of Helldivers on Vita because those things have more of a handheld feel to me.
Makes sense.
And so I also like just the different media features that are on it. I got MLB TV and NBA League Pass on there, and I can watch that. So overall, I'm a handheld kind of guy. I like it. It's very convenient. When I get a couple spare moments at work, I may pull it out and play a little bit. So yeah.
Mr. Sausage made a good decision. He's playing Animal Crossing Special Edition.
Nice. Woo. We were hopefully going to stream. We have a guy on our podcast, the always visually stunning Larry Hunt, who has a Animal Crossing world he hasn't touched in 10 years.
10 years.
And so we're going to stream it and see what the condition of said world is soon.
What did it say when he popped up? I was like, wow, I haven't seen you for like 137
months or something like that.
Crazy.
And a normal FIFA season has 38 games.
So you played two and a half of those?
So 2.5. All right, let's do the math here. And by that, I mean I'm going to 38 times 2.5. I played 95 games while I was in Puerto Rico. And en route to Puerto Rico. All right? So, I dig the handheld space.
I do have one off-topic question. If that's
okay, that's fine.
How were the hotels in Puerto Rico?
It was like the hotels here. It was just hotter.
Okay. I've just always wondered.
So,
I've never been to a different country.
Well, it's not technically a different country.
I know.
It's a U.S. territory.
But I've never been in a plane as well.
You've never been on a plane?
Never been on a plane.
The most boring... you want me to describe flying to you? It is 5 minutes of, oh, man, this is really, really cool as you're taking off. It's 2.5 hours of, I can't hear a thing. I am almost positive my ears don't even work anymore. And the guy next to you is trying to talk to you about his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and you're like, I can't understand a word that's coming out of your mouth, all right? It's also 2.5 hours of where do I put my elbows? And 2.5 hours of where do I put the fecal matter that's building up in my body, all right? And then it all ends with 5 minutes of, holy crap, this pilot needs to slow down. I have flown probably 8 or 9 times in my life. Not a whole lot, but I have not been on a single flight that has had a smooth landing. All right.
Jeez.
And so, yeah, 5 minutes of excitement, 2.5 hours of complete boredom, and 5 minutes of calling all your loved ones and
apologizing for everything you've ever done.
Yeah. So,
that I have been on a plane officially. Thanks.
the delinquent says, you have no idea how many Americans think that Puerto Ricans are immigrants. I know. They have no idea. It's like, it's a territory.
School.
Seriously. Look at a map. All right. Anyway, so handheld gaming. That's where we're at. Back on track. What would interest you in handheld gaming? You know, you're not into that space now, and I understand the whole, like, not needing video games at your fingertips. If I go a day without playing a video game, my skin starts getting dry. I get a little nauseous. Yeah, I'm not a pleasant person. It's like a day without coffee.
Yeah, I got some really nasty side effects going on there. Well, what would it take? Well, it already has a good appeal to me, and that's where you're going to play the Pokemon games. That's very interesting to me. I feel very disadvantaged because I don't know all of them. I just know the original ones. Yes, I just know the original ones. I don't know the new ones. They're like up to 400 or plus. Charizard.
You got Squirtle. We're gonna name them all.
You got Mr. Mime.
You got Pikachu. You got Skrillex. Is that the stone one? What's his name? Onyx.
Geodude? Oh, yeah. Onyx.
Is it Onyx?
Yeah.
Skrillex, Onyx. It's the same thing, man. Anyway, so you got all these Pokemon, and they're all on the handheld space. And I've had this idea. I've told you this idea before. Now I'm going to tell you guys this idea. I'm not into Pokemon, all right? Just never have been. No. I watched the show in the mornings when I was getting ready for school until I discovered that Saved by the Bell was on TBS every morning. And then I started watching that. So, but here's my idea for a Pokemon game. That's how you say it, right?
Pokemon? Pokemon.
The Pokemans. Here's my idea for a Pokemon game. An augmented reality Pokemon game that takes advantage of location services on your handheld device. So
that would be amazing.
Here's what happens. Oh, we forgot Smelly Sausage's favorite one, Bulbasaur.
Bulbasaur.
All right. So you got your new 3DS, new X3D, XL, S3 new. It's several generations down the line. We're future casting here. All right. The thing trifolds. It's like a wallet of sorts.
Okay.
So you slide that thing in your pocket. You hop in your car and you're driving down the road. You got Pokemon active in there. It's just in standby, but it's constantly monitoring your position and reporting it back to the government. And
NSA knows.
And so you're driving down the road, and all of a sudden, your pocket starts vibrating, right? And you're like, "Oh gosh, I'm getting a phone call." And then you realize, like, I don't have friends. No one's calling me. So you get your phone out, and you're like, "That's not what's buzzing. It's my,
my Pokédex.
It's my Pokédex, all right? And it's telling me, hey, Dizzy, I smell a Pokemon in the region, all right?
In the region.
So you're like, oh, gosh, I got to pull this jank over. So you safely pull off to the side of the road. You find a good position to park your car, and you take out your Nintendo device. You unfold it, all of the folds in it, and you look at it, and you say, and it says, all right, your Pokemon is located here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you walk around until you find the area that it's in, and then you have to do whatever the world you have to do to capture a Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
Throw a ball at it.
You have to weaken it, then you throw a ball at it.
Which, if you can weaken it with your own human abilities, do you really want to train it?
Well, I mean, you're using your Pokemon to weaken it. I'm not
okay.
literally punching it or anything.
How do you get the first one then?
It's given to you by Professor Oak. You choose it, one of three.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Anyway, so here's the thing. Here's some of the things that you could do with it. First of all, they can enter into like exclusive partnerships with retailers, saying if you visit this location, you'll be able to find your Bulbasaur. All right, so you don't necessarily have to buy anything at that establishment, but if you just show up at it and check in, you'll be able to get it. But also, you can just find these things randomly out in the wild.
Yes, like if you're near a forest, like a national park or a lake or the ocean, you're going to find those terrain-specific Pokemon. Like you're going to find a Gyarados out in the ocean. You're going to find an Onix near a cliff.
No, you're finding an Onix in a back alley next to some rock-hard criminals.
You got to stand there and battle them while not getting stabbed.
Yeah, while trying to get that hobo to stop asking you for money. You're like, I don't have anyone. He's like, I see that trifold wallet you're holding.
Perfect. Oh, man. But you brought up... bringing in other companies. That's very interesting because you would have these places like Target that could say, hey, come here and get Mewtwo, and then you find Mewtwo in the plus-size women's underwear section.
Yeah, it's way classier than that nasty Squirtle that they're having over there at Walmart. All right?
Exactly.
You think it would get that specific of like, hey, come over here to aisle 3 of the ladies' lingerie.
Yes.
And discover I'm all out of Pokemon references.
Togepi. I don't know.
What is it?
It's a little egg thing.
So yeah, I think it would be interesting. If there was more augmented reality games like that. It doesn't necessarily have to just be Pokemon. It could be anything. You got this mobile device. Like, take advantage of the fact that it's mobile. One of the things that we got into for a couple months was a game called Ingress.
Perfect
on our
example.
phones. Me and Larry, we spent an entire evening one night. It was like from 6 to like 1 in the morning. We were just driving around Eden in sub-zero temperatures. It was the coldest night of all time. Going down these back alley, like these back road, hillbilly zombie roads, and thinking that we were going to die just so that we could cap portals. And it was one of the most fun experiences I've ever had with a mobile game because it got us to go places in Eden that I didn't even know existed.
And imagine those portals being the Pokemon that you find. Like, you can go to your GameStop, and that's where you buy the health sprays, or you can turn on an indicator where people can find you and say, hey, let's battle it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you get there, and they've got a billy club with poison barbed wire around it.
So there's just this dude running around attacking players just to steal their 3DX wallets.
I see that wallet you're carrying. All right. But anything else? What else would get you would just really get you like excited about handheld gaming? Well, I'll give you mine.
Please do.
One of the things I do not like about the Vita is the rear touchpad. And I know I'm not alone in this thing. Why they decided to take a console that uses a 4 top button system and turn it into a 2 top button system was beyond me. Especially if they projected that remote play was going to be something the Vita was going to support. And so if they just announced a Vita 3000 or a new Vita, whatever they'd call it, that just has trigger buttons as well, like that would get me excited about it. It would make so many more games accessible. Like, like playing 2K, R2 is where speed is mapped, and you're using that thing all the time, and you have to hit the rear touchpad just right to get it to work, and it's really inconvenient. So that would get me excited about it. Let's see. What else about handheld gaming would get me excited about it? Is there anything else I mentioned? Well, being able to deliver an experience of connectivity without having to constantly be tethered to the internet would be awesome. Like, you can remote play on your devices now, but giving me like a comparable experience to the console on a handheld. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but like playing Bloodborne or something like that, where I can pick up my progress but not have to worry about like latency issues or something like that.
I'd be worried about that because when you're getting mad at Bloodborne, you just throw the controller. But if it's on your Vita, you're throwing the whole thing.
That's true.
So that seems dangerous.
I don't throw my controllers anymore, though, dude.
I don't mean you, but you.
I don't care what you do, though. I care what I do. I really don't care what you do, as long as it's not my controller you're throwing. Let's see. One thing that would get me more into gaming in general, if I got paid to play sponsored games or getting achievements or writing reviews. Thing is, like, everybody in the universe does that, and so they would be shelling out money left and right.
Left and right.
Like, we do that junk. We don't deserve to get paid for this. This is mediocre at best. That's on a good day. We're
I like it.
Oh, it's fun. But we are the MTV2 of
oh gosh, we're
podcasting.
but we're still on TV.
We play just as many music videos.
Perfect.
All right. So that's handheld gaming. Topic 2 down. We're moving on to the third topic. We're rolling right along here. Oh crap, and we're still 40 minutes into this thing. Gosh, awesome. The delinquent still has his PSP. A lot of people argue the PSP is the greatest handheld console of all time.
Wow.
I don't know how I feel about that. I didn't have the PSP long enough to make that determination. All right, last thing. It's kind of 2 topics melded into one.
It is.
But 4-topic Thursday makes absolutely no sense. Right? I want to talk about digital gaming and what the future of digital gaming means for the future of brick and mortar stores, namely GameStop, who specializes in video games, if you didn't know. If you're from across the pond and you have, I think their video game stores in Britain are just called Game.
Game?
Like, hey man, you want to hit up Game after this? And it's like, that doesn't make any sense. If you're from Britain and that's not true, let me know. Epidemic says, absolutely not. As far as the PSP being the greatest handheld console of all time.
I thought he was responding to your British question.
Oh, no.
Game.
No, this will take 8 hours to get to them. No, they're ahead of us. They heard that question 8 hours ago.
Oh, my gosh.
Mind blown, right? All right, so
we live in the
digital
past.
Gaming. Are you a digital gamer? Do you buy digital?
I do not.
My sausage says it is called Game.
Oh, my goodness. I thought you were just saying something.
No, I don't ever just say something. It's always got meaning behind it. I am the Hideo Kojima of words. Moving on.
Nailed it. I have not bought into the digital. It's not where I need it to be yet. The lack of demos is an issue to me. Back when I was in Indiana, my wife and I lived right around the corner from a place called Family Video, and I would go there every week and get 2 games and just, play them to see if I want to buy them. Now, if you get a used game at GameStop and it's not your cup of tea, you can return it back. I like that ability. I guess I'm kind of picky when it comes to games, and it seems too much of a gamble for me to go into the digital downloads, which is kind of terrible at the same time because I know there's a lot of good indie titles out there, but I'm still not too comfortable with spending the money on it yet because once you get it, if it's not great or if you're not really digging it, it just either sits there or you delete it. So, I mean, that's why I'm not into it, but you seem to be.
I am into it to an extent. Here's the thing. There are a ton of video game experiences you cannot have unless you go digital. There's games that just aren't getting physical releases. You cannot play a physical copy of Hotline Miami 2. You can't play a physical Helldivers. You can't play a physical I mean, I don't have to continue. There's a ton of examples of digital games that don't exist in the physical space. So I'm kind of being forced to get into the digital world. Mm-hmm. I do like it for several reasons. Number one, I love the convenience of it. Just having it there all the time, not having to worry about switching discs out, is wonderful. Especially with partnering with the Vita in remote play, not having to worry about is the disc I want to play in the console when I'm away from it. So that's one of the reasons that I'm into it. It's also incredibly convenient. Like I bought Master Chief Collection, and this is a terrible example just because it didn't work the night it came out, regardless. But it allowed me to pre-download it a week before or something like that, 4 days before or something like that. So right at midnight it unlocked. So I was able to jump right into it and start playing it. So that was a big deal to me. Here's a couple things that are keeping me from the digital realm of video gaming. Number one, I play a lot of annualized titles. I'm a big sports gamer, and every 12 months you're getting a new one of those things. And so Madden 25 doesn't mean anything to me once Madden 15 comes out. FIFA 14 doesn't mean anything when FIFA 15 comes out. So having no way of recouping any of that money for those annualized titles is difficult for me.
But once those games come out, doesn't the trade-in value drop to like $4?
Well, the only game I keep till the next one comes out is NBA 2K. Okay. Everything else I'll trade in while it's still got like a $20, $25 trade-in value, something like that. So that's a big deal for me. Another deal is that just hard drive space. And I know one of my arguments with that is you can only play so many games at one time. And so you can just delete them, and if you want to go back, you download them again. But now I have a bunch of little games that I want to get to. And I do kind of just chip away at them and bounce back and forth. So having to go back and delete those would not be a fun thing. And then the third one, and the biggest one for me, is who owns it? Do you really own it? What is digital ownership? And at any time, can the license of my ownership be revoked from me? We've seen that a lot with some of the issues with PSN, where they'll ban an account and you lose all of your digital games associated with that account. And it's like you call customer service and plead your case, and they're like, "Yeah, tough cookies, can't do it." And so I worry about things like that. I'm sort of a conspiracy theorist, as you know, and I am afraid of the day where I wake up and I am no longer allowed access to any of my video games.
Yeah, especially since you've invested so much time and money into it. Yeah, I understand.
However, there are things that would get me to immediately just be like, all right, I'm all digital. The first thing would be pricing. If I could pay $49.99 rather than $59.99 for a digital copy over a physical copy, I'm there. $10 cheaper on a game I was planning on getting anyway, I'm there. I'm going to download it. And I think the more and more they start to look into digital gaming and see kind of what the hang-ups are, I think that's going to be the number one thing is like, why am I paying the same amount for something that is taking less effort for you to do? You know, you're not having to package it. You're not having to ship it. You're not having to let it sit on a store shelf. It's just there existing in a digital space and is there whenever. So why shouldn't that be cheaper? So that's going to be that would be one of the things. Also, when more companies start to jump on the EA Access bandwagon, Sony was like so nervous that if they backed EA Access that all other companies would follow suit. And the thing is I wouldn't have a problem with it. You know, EA Access, you pay $30 a year. You get access to the vault. You get 5 days early access to games, and sometimes it's for a few hours, but that's okay with me. You get 10% off all digital content through the EA Access program, and when you download a game to try it in the trial period, it just converts into the full release of the game if you decide to purchase it, so you don't have to download it again. But it gives you kind of a low-risk entry point into those games. And then you get, did I mention the vault that has the games in it? And so how cool would let's just think about it on 360. Would a Bethesda vault be? You know?
Wow.
It's got Fallout. It's got Skyrim in it. It's got,
Rage.
Dishonored. is in it.
Was that Bethesda? Rage was great. But here's my question. You're saying that if you have this Vault subscription, you're getting these benefits, like getting 5 hours pre and 10% off. What's making people not just be like, well, okay, this EA game's coming out this month. I'm going to do this for 1 month, which is like, how much you say a month?
For what?
You said, is it a yearly subscription?
EA Access is $30 a year or $5 a month.
Okay, so here's the thing. You're getting, let's do math. If I say, well, this UFC game is coming out soon. I'm going to get the EA Access for $5. I'm going to get 10% off, and I'm going to get 5 hours access to it before. And then I'm going to cancel my subscription after I buy it with the 10% off.
Mm-hmm.
Am I coming out on top, or is EA still coming out on top? Me spending $5 versus getting 10% off of $60, which is
you would be the winner there.
Okay.
You'd be getting $5 off. No, you'd be getting $1 off.
Okay.
So you're not really the winner.
Wow. So don't do that, people. Don't think you're gonna be sneaky. You're getting $1 off.
You're the one trying to find a loophole here.
You think I'm the only one? Nope.
King Kilo asked a great question, and I
Yes.
never thought about this. Thank you for the question, King Kilo. Make sure you hit that follow button. He says, I really want to know what's going to happen at the end of the PS4's life cycle when they shut down that store eventually. What are all those games going to do? Are you going to still have access to those games when the PlayStation Store that you bought them from is no longer able to link to your account, which is what's required for you to access those games? I would guess yes.
Not having a PS4, I do have a question. The games you bought on the PS3, are there no more access to those if you have a PS4?
No, you have to have a PS3 to play them.
Okay.
There's no backwards compatibility within it.
Okay. So when the PS5 comes out, it's just going to be the same thing, right? You're just going to need a PS4 to play those games you've bought?
Yeah. But the thing is that you have to authenticate your account when accessing these games. And so King Kilo's idea is if that store is no longer functional, when they shut down the PS4 store, which I would imagine it wouldn't work that way because PlayStation Network is something that spans console generations. PlayStation Network governs PS3, PS4, and PS Vita. And so even if they're not releasing new games on those things anymore, PSN still exists, and that's the thing that you need to link to. So I just talked myself out of what I was thinking about it. Okay. All right. But what we're going to see is, I don't know necessarily if physical gaming is going to die out. I think it's going to become more and more niche as we go on. I think it's going to become more and more collector-oriented as it goes on. And I think, because I think developers and companies know it is cheaper to sell through digital. You're not having to guesstimate how many physical copies to press and print and send out. And so as more and more people go digital, I think they're going to do more and more limited physical runs of games. And we're already starting to see that in the handheld space. We're getting limited physical runs of games like Shovel Knight on Vita, like Child of Light on PS Vita. There was another game that was in my mind and now it's gone. But
what were those Persona games?
No, Persona has just a physical release. It's not a limited run. But you're going to get more and more of those limited runs where it's like, okay, we are announcing Fallout 5. We're going to ship 50,000 physical copies. First come, first serve. And then the rest are just going to be digital. And that's going to be the space that we're going to have to exist in. I'm not sure if... I think they're going to have to clarify some of the questions that people have about digital ownership. PSN is definitely going to have to clean up some of their policies on banning accounts and those sort of things. Even to the extent of, like, if your credit card gets charged for something, this is crazy to me. If your bank card gets charged with something and it seems kind of suspicious, your bank will put a hold on that until they can contact you and see. Well, if the bank puts a hold or a stop payment on any payment towards Sony, they will automatically ban your account. And so even simple errors like that, like they're going to have to clear up some of those muddy waters in order for this next stage in the process. But I think physical releases are going to become more and more niche, more and more collectible driven, more and more limited run.
I mean, look at the the vinyl now. I mean, we have iTunes. We have all this stuff that we can get digital music, but people are still out there throwing mad cash at vinyl. So I mean, if you're getting 50,000 copies of Fallout and the rest are digital, there's people that would want to pay for those physical copies.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Now, we can agree that the digital downloads are going to increase. It's going to become extremely popular if it's not already at that point. And that does kind of spell trouble for GameStop. I've noticed that they've really increased their merchandise, their video game merchandise, not just video games, but the things that associate with them. So they're going to, like I said earlier, they're going to become kind of like a hot topic. So you're going to be able to buy all these other items like the little pops and the shirts and whatnot, as well as having the incentives for pre-orders and buying the ultimate edition of a game. So I don't see GameStop going anywhere soon. I think we're still going to dominate.
I don't know if we've ever talked about this in a show. I know me and you have talked about it quite a bit outside of the show. But one of the main things that we see, one of the main reasons GameStop still exists today, other than just people are still interested in physical games, but why publishers just haven't dropped the support of brick and mortar stores like GameStop, is because they are a necessary part of hardware sales.
Mm-hmm.
You can't download a console.
You can't.
You can't download a controller. You can't download a memory card for your Vita. They have to have these brick and mortar stores that can sell these things through. And so the more and more familiar people get with online retail, such as your Amazons of the world and stuff like that, the more and more comfortable publishers are going to be saying, we're only releasing this stuff digitally. And all it's going to take is one company to do it for all the other companies to follow suit. Mm-hmm. And there are companies crazy enough to do that, crazy enough to say, like, we're just going to enter the digital space. Big companies. Rockstar is a company that I feel like could do that. And because Rockstar is just crazy. They do what they want anyway. And they just are like, we're just going to be in the digital space. Mm-hmm. And then GTA is still going to sell 11 billion copies. And then Bethesda's going to say, all right, I'm going. EA is going to say, all right, I'm going. And it's just going to be this constant, it's going to be this herd mentality of moving out from it. And then GameStop's going to be left kind of scrambling. And so they're going to have to prepare themselves about how to be a contender in a digital world. Mm-hmm. And it's going to mean creating an online store that really services digital game codes and stuff like that in a way that is good, figuring out a way to partner with developers in a way that would allow them to resell codes maybe and give companies a break back. Because here's the thing, there's a ton of people who will only purchase a game if they can buy it used.
I'm kind of one of those people.
And so if there was a way to sell a code back to GameStop, get a little bit of money back for it, and then GameStop turns around and sells that code, and the developers still get to take a cut of it, because it's like, okay, that person wouldn't have bought my game if they wouldn't have had the option to buy it at a discounted used price. So we're okay with you kind of undercutting our retail price of it, but we still want a piece of it. Because that's the problem with it now, is GameStop gets 100% of the sale of used games. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So the only thing that companies are making money off of is brand new sales. And so GameStop's going to have to get kind of creative in those things. Go ahead.
One of my favorite things that I've seen in history is when Reach came out. I do believe it was Reach. I could be wrong. They were doing this thing to where when you pre-ordered it, you got a bonus depending on what store you go to. Like if you were to pre-order it at GameStop, you got this helmet and this symbol. If you got it from Best Buy, you got this helmet and this emblem. Mm-hmm. I think that's a brilliant idea. So if GameStop was able to get these exclusive, downloads that you pre-order, people are going to want that.
Yeah,
people are going to want that.
Exclusive anniversary editions of a game or something like that, or even just as much as I'm not as big on that. Come over here to GameStop and you get this exclusive piece of armor when you pre-order. I'm not that doesn't sell me on it.
But it sells a lot of people.
But it sells. I know it sells a lot of people. Let's see. Oh, one of the other things I was going to mention about the brick and mortar store is just the community of the brick and mortar store. Just like sometimes I go into GameStop with zero intention of buying anything, and many times I just end up buying something anyway. But I just love going in there. I know all the people that work in there. Have conversations with the people that work in there. We'll go in and hang out. We'll be like, oh, I didn't know that even existed, or check out this dumb little pop figure, or whatever those things are called.
You got that allegiance. I can't tell you the last time I bought a game from Walmart.
That's
Halo 3.
What is the last game I bought from Walmart? Probably NCAA football 2010.
Gosh, it's all about the camaraderie. It really is.
Yeah, it's a community when you walk into a GameStop.
I've never bought anything from a midnight release, but I've been to 3 just to hang out.
The delinquent says the reason why physical game copies won't ever die is because God forbid the online game services ever die off for whatever reason. The only way to get those hard to get rare games will be through someone uploading a hard disk copy from a torrent.
Wow.
Well, but I think companies will understand that, like, in order for this digital game to exist, we have to maintain our servers and our services, and so a game that a company like PlayStation and like Xbox who makes those decisions, like when their services die off, it's because they're becoming irrelevant, and there will still be some people who are interested in playing games on those consoles, but it'll be very few. So I don't know. I see the day coming where physical is going to die off. Do I like it particularly? Not really. I mean, I love having a shelf of games that I can look at and see that I have. Because that's another thing about digital is I sometimes forget what I own because I have no visual reminder that I have it unless it's just a tile on my screen. Like when we were on the Xbox right before we got on the show, I was going through my games and apps and I was like, I don't even remember downloading that, And so, anyway, so yeah,
interesting. But I think it won't be soon. If physical were to die, it would not be soon.
I don't think it's going to be soon that physical is going to die. I do think it's going to be soon where GameStop is going to have to kind of change their model of what they're going to be, how they sell video games, and begin to enter into the conversation about how to get digital content to work for them as well. Because it is still a very homeostatic relationship. GameStop is the place you go to buy your hardware. Even if you're not buying software, you got to go somewhere to buy your hardware. And some people go places where it's delivered straight to their door. Some people go to GameStop. I personally love GameStop. I don't want it to go anywhere. We go into GameStop 2 to 3 times a week, hang out. They pass out our business cards. They get people listening to our podcast. They're great people over there. Thank you, GameStop. You can buy and sell your used games over there.
That's what I love to do.
I'm gonna let's wrap up the YouTube video, but let's stick around. We have a pretty active chat going on over here, and since you're not over there sitting there and telling us what to read out, I've kind of fallen behind. So we're gonna wrap it up here for the YouTube video, but let's stick around and talk to the chat. Thank you guys.
Freeze frame.
All right, what's up?